Good morning, students. In this part, we are going to discuss about the bronchopulmonary segments. So, the bronchopulmonary segments, before going into the segments, we need to know the divisions of the bronchi. As we all have seen in the last part, that trachea at the level of T4 vertebra, it bifurcates into a right bronchus and a left bronchus. And these bronchi are called as the principal bronchi or the primary bronchi. And these primary bronchi, they enter the hilum or root of the lung of the corresponding lung, that is right bronchus on the right side, left on the left side. They enter the corresponding bronchus where each subdivides into successive generations, right? These are the next generations of the bronchi and finally reaches the lung units. What are the lung units? They are the alveoli, right? So they reach the lung units through the terminal respiratory bronchioles. All these they divide further bronchi then into bronchioles and finally they reach the lung units through the terminal respiratory bronchioles. Now, each bronchus consists of an extrapulmonary part, and after entering into the hilum, it is called as intrapulmonary part. So, it has got an extrapulmonary part and an intrapulmonary part each, both on the right side and left side. This is the extrapulmonary part of the left bronchus, and then this will be the intrapulmonary part of the left bronchus. Now we'll see each bronchus in detail. So the right bronchus in this image, if you observe, it is shorter, right? So this is longer, the left one is longer, whereas the right one, it is shorter, broader and more vertical if you see, right? Whereas the left one, it is narrower, longer and more oblique. So that's how the right bronchus is different from the left bronchus. Now you may think why this right bronchus is more wider, because this is going to supply more voluminous right lung. Okay, the right lung is more voluminous when compared to the left lung. So for that the right bronchus is more wider. It is shorter and more vertical because once the trachea reaches the point of bifurcation, it deviates slightly towards the right side. And that's how the angle made by the right bronchus here, it will be 25 degrees, whereas that of the left will be little more, right? Then that's because of this more vertical nature of this right bronchus. Any foreign body aspirated into the trachea, it tends to get aspirated onto the right side, into the right lung, right? So that point you have to remember the clinical aspect. And the length of the extrapulmonary part of the right bronchus is 2.5 centimeters. So, what is the course? The extrapulmonary part of the right bronchus, it passes downwards and towards the right from the bifurcation of the trachea and makes an angle of about 25 degrees from the median plane. And here the relations will be, it passes beneath the arch of azygous vein and enters the root of lung and reaches the hilum at the level of fifth thoracic vertebra. The carina is present at the level of fourth thoracic vertebra, that is the bifurcation. And the point where the right bronchus enters into the hilum of the lung corresponds with the T5 vertebra, right? Then within the lung, once it has entered into the hilum, within the lung, the bronchus is crossed by the right pulmonary artery. So before the artery crosses the bronchus, here at this level, in the next picture I'll show you how the artery is related here. So before the artery, before the bronchus enters into the lung, here it is related to the pulmonary artery, and it gives off an upper lobar branch. So one lobar branch is the right lung. As you all know, it has got three lobes. So upper lobe, middle lobe, and inferior lobe. So the main bronchus divides into the lobar bronchi, which are called as secondary bronchi. Secondary then divides into the tertiary bronchus, and the segment of the lung which is supplied through the tertiary bronchus is called as the bronchopulmonary segment. That we'll see in detail in the further discussion, right? So this is the right bronchus. Now in this image, I want you to see this one. This is the pulmonary artery. This is the left pulmonary artery, and this is the right pulmonary artery. And this one is the bronchus. So at this point you can see before crossed by the artery itself, the right bronchus has given off a lobar branch to the upper lobe of the right lung. This one, right? And this bronchus is called as the eparterial bronchus. Eparterial, that means which is above the pulmonary artery here, right? The difference here you will see on the left side that the artery has crossed the left main bronchus, but it hasn't given any lobar branch yet. So there is no eparterial bronchus on the left side, whereas there is one eparterial bronchus on the right side, which supplies the upper lobe of the right lung. Then this lobar branch, again it divides into the tertiary. uh, this is called as secondary. The lobar is called as the secondary bronchus. So this again divides into the tertiary bronchi, and the segment of the lung which is supplied by one tertiary bronchus is called as a bronchopulmonary segment. And this is an independent respiratory district, we can say. It is independent, and these segments are separated from each other by intersegmental areolar septa. So that we will see in the next slide. So here in this slide, if we see, this is the main bronchus, okay, and these are the secondary bronchi, and these smaller one are the tertiary bronchi. And these tertiary bronchi will supply air to one particular segment of the lung, which is called as the bronchopulmonary segment. And here this is called as the eparterial bronchus, whereas on the left side there is no eparterial bronchus. After giving off the eparterial bronchus, the principal bronchus will continue downwards and laterally, and then gives off secondary lobar branches for the middle lobe. This is the middle lobe of the right lung, and the lower lobe of the right lung. This is the lower lobe, right? So altogether there will be three lobar branches coming from the right principal bronchus, whereas on the left side there will be two lobar branches or the secondary bronchi. Two, because the left side we will see the upper lobe and the lower lobe. And in this image we are going to see how the bronchopulmonary segment appears. So this bronchopulmonary segment is a wedge shaped area of the lung supplied by one tertiary bronchus, and two adjacent bronchopulmonary segments, they are separated by a septa. This one septa is present here, right? um, Intersegmental areolar septa are present, and these septa actually prevent the spread of infection between two adjacent bronchopulmonary segments. And within the segment, the branches of the pulmonary artery, they follow the tertiary bronchus here, okay, whereas the pulmonary veins, they sorry, this one is the septa here actually, this one, and this is the bronchus along with the pulmonary artery, and this area is the alveolar septa. And within the septa we can see the pulmonary vein runs within the septa, so that means pulmonary veins are intersegmental, whereas branches of pulmonary artery, they follow the they are segmental, they run along with the bronchus in the bronchopulmonary segment. Then a bronchopulmonary segment, it is wedge shaped with its base directed towards the surface of the lung, and apex is pointed towards the tertiary bronchus. Tertiary bronchus. And a segmental bronchus here, this is the segmental bronchus or the tertiary bronchus. So this segmental bronchus may branch 6 to 18 times to produce around 50 to 70 respiratory bronchioles here. Okay, so they branch almost how many times? Somewhere around 16 to 18 times, and finally they produce around 50 to 70 respiratory bronchioles. This one, right? And which merge with the alveolar sacs. Here all the rounded structures that you are seeing are the alveolar sacs, and which so the respiratory bronchioles merge with the alveolar sacs and terminate into the alveoli, which constitute the lung parenchyma, right? So the tertiary bronchi will divide around 6 to 18 times to give rise to 50 to 70 respiratory bronchioles, and each respiratory bronchiole merges with the alveolar sacs and then ends or terminates into the alveoli, which is nothing but the lung parenchyma, right? So in this image, a little magnified image, if we see here, these are the tertiary bronchi along with the bronchial arteries, and then the pulmonary arteries also here, whereas this is the septa, and along the septa we are seeing the pulmonary vein is running. So this is a bronchopulmonary segment, schematic representation of a bronchopulmonary segment, right? Then how many bronchopulmonary segments are there on the right side and on the left side? So the distribution of the right principal bronchus. This is the right principal bronchus. So this is the upper lobe bronchus or the secondary bronchus or the lobar bronchus, right? This is one, this is the upper lobar, this is the middle lobar, and this is the lower lobar bronchus. So upper lobe bronchus, which is also called as eparterial bronchus, arises from the superolateral aspect of the main bronchus, about 2.5 centimeters distal to the tracheal bifurcation. So here, from here to here, the length will be around 2.5 centimeters. And before it enters into the hilum, this eparterial bronchus is given off. It passes upwards and laterally for 1 centimeter and then divides into 3 tertiary bronchi. So in this image we are seeing the 3 tertiary bronchi: apical, posterior and anterior. Thereafter the main bronchus undergoes a hyparterial course. So for that you have to remember that last image I have shown you, wherein the pulmonary artery is running along this line. So this portion of the bronchus is called as the hyparterial course. Okay, and passes downwards, backwards and laterally, accompanied by pulmonary artery. Pulmonary artery lies dorsolaterally, whereas pulmonary vein lies ventromedially, about 2 centimeters below the origin of the upper lobe. So that means this distance is around 2 centimeters. The main trunk gives off from the front a lobar branch to the middle lobe of the lung. This is the middle lobe of the lung. where it divides into this middle lobar branch again divides into a lateral and a medial tertiary bronchus. Two tertiary bronchi are seen from the middle lobar branch. The middle lobar bronchus is long. It is surrounded by a group of hilar lymph nodes which drain lymphatics from middle and lower lobes of the right lung. Middle lobe, yeah, here, yeah, in this if we see, this is the middle lobe and this is the upper lobe and this is the lower lobe. So the segmental bronchus which drains the middle lobe, it is longer and it is surrounded by the hilar lymph nodes. If there is any enlargement of these hilar lymph nodes due to infection or malignant growth of the lower lobe, this might collapse the entire middle lobe because the lower lobe lymphatics will be draining into the hilar nodes and they are surrounding the middle lobar bronchus. So, any infection or tumor which is present within the lower lobe can affect the middle lobe of the lung also, that and results in the collapse of the entire middle lobe, and this condition is called as middle lobe syndrome. Middle lobe syndrome. So the middle lobe syndrome is the result of any infection or any tumor present within the lower lobe. But because the lymphatics of the lower lobe are drained into the hilar lymph nodes and those hilar lymph nodes are surrounding the um, lobar bronchus for the middle lobe. So that infection has a chance to spread to the middle lobe and results in the collapse of the middle lobe, and that condition is called as middle lobe syndrome. Then remaining part of this hilar hyparterial bronchus here, this supplies the lower lobe of the right lung by 5 tertiary branches: superior, medial basal, anterior basal, posterior basal and lateral basal. Because these are all supplying the lower lobe of the lung, we name them as basal, medial and lateral basal, anterior and posterior basal, and one apical or the superior lobar branch. Superior segmental branch we can say, not lobar. Right. So these are the 10 bronchopulmonary segments that we see on the right side of the lung. So here in this image, this is the medial view of the lung. So in this what we are seeing, this is the first segment or bronchopulmonary segment, and this is the second segment. What is the second segment? It is the anterior bronchopulmonary segment, upper anterior. Then third one is upper posterior. So upper lobe has got 3 bronchopulmonary segments: apical, anterior and posterior. Then comes the middle lobe. Middle lobe will have medial and lateral. Two we'll see, but in this view we can see only the lateral one here, fifth one, whereas fourth one we can see here anteriorly. We can see this is the lateral view. In the lateral view, this medial and lateral parts of this middle lobe are visible segments. This is the medial and this is the lateral bronchopulmonary segment. And then this one is the lower lobe. In lower, what are the things? One is apical. So apical number will be 6. So where are we seeing the 6? In which view? In the posterior view we can see the 6th lobe or the superior segment, superior bronchopulmonary segment of the lower lobe, that is 6th one. Then 7th, 8th, 9th. This is the 7th. 7th is nothing but the medial basal, and 8th is nothing but the anterior basal. 9th is nothing but the posterior basal, and 10th is nothing but the lateral basal, right? So these are the 10 bronchopulmonary segments which are seen on the right side. So the apical bronchus arises opposite or just distal to the middle lobe bronchus. This one, apical. Sorry, this apical, the lower one here. So this arises. So these are all the 10 bronchopulmonary segments on the in the right lung. So the apical bronchus arises opposite or just distal to the middle lobe bronchus. This superior bronchus of the lower lobe is also called as apical bronchus. So this arises just distal to the middle lobe bronchus and this passes horizontally backwards to supply the upper part of the lower lobe. And so it is not unlikely that pus from the infected middle lobe may trickle backward and produce secondary lung abscess of the apical segment of the lower lobe, particularly when the patient lies in recumbent position. So, because this is close to the middle lobar bronchus, this apical bronchus is close to the middle lobar bronchus. So any infection of this middle lobar bronchus obviously will generate pus, and that pus has a chance to trickle down into this apical bronchus when the patient is in lying down position, in recumbent position. So there are chances of spread of infection. And about 2 centimeters below the origin of the apical bronchus, the main bronchus gives off the anterior basal, medial basal, and then posterior basal and lateral basal um, divisions of the bronchus. And the bronchus ends by dividing into, the final thing will be lateral and posterior basal segments. So the 10 bronchopulmonary segments of the right lung are, this is the apical, number 1, then second is the posterior here, third is the anterior, and the middle lobe has got fourth and fifth, so lateral and medial. Fourth is lateral and fifth is medial. And lower lobe has got apical, this one is the apical, sixth one, right? And the seventh one is the, here the seventh one we can see, seventh one is named as medial basal. Eighth one is the anterior basal, and this is the medial basal. Ninth one is the lateral basal, and 10th one is the posterior basal, right? So these are the 10 bronchopulmonary segments on the right side. Now coming to the left bronchus and bronchopulmonary segments. So this one is the left bronchus. We have seen earlier that it is longer, narrower and more oblique in position. And the length of this extra pulmonary part is 5 centimeters. How was it for the right bronchus? It was 2.5 centimeters. So double length of the left bronchus we are going to see, more obliquely placed. And the angle made by the extra pulmonary part is 45 degrees here, whereas on the right side it was 25 degrees. Here it is 45 degrees away from the median plane at the tracheal bifurcation, and passes downwards to the left side here like this, and runs below the arch of aorta. So here, and one more relation you have to remember, earlier image we have seen the left pulmonary artery, here also the arch of aorta you can see, and then from here it enters into the lung through the hilum at the level of 6th thoracic vertebra. So this difference you have to note down. On the right side, the point, I mean the right bronchus where it enters the hilum, it is at the level of T5, whereas on the left side it is at the level of T6. And at the hilum, The left bronchus does not give any eparterial branch, that we have already seen, and whole bronchus passes below the pulmonary artery. So the pulmonary artery will be in this direction like this. So the whole bronchus will pass below the artery and undergoes hyparterial course only. Whereas eparterial bronchus is seen on the right side, whereas the left bronchus, the entire course is hyparterial. Then coming to the intrapulmonary part of the bronchus, intrapulmonary part, it gives off two secondary bronchi or two lobar bronchi for the two lobes of the lung, upper and lower lobe of the lung. And the upper lobe bronchus arises about 5 centimeters distal to the bifurcation of trachea. Then if you see the direction, it passes upwards and laterally. Upwards and laterally for about 1 centimeter, and then divides into ascending and descending branches. The left main bronchus divides into an ascending and a descending branches. Ascending branch subdivides into tertiary bronchi. How many tertiary bronchi? It divides into two tertiary bronchi here, apical and posterior. Ascending branch, this is the ascending branch of the upper lobar bronchus, and this is the descending branch of the upper lobar bronchus. So the ascending gives off apico-posterior and an anterior, two tertiary divisions we can say. Sometimes this apical and posterior will arise separately, or sometimes it can form a single bronchus. So the upper lobar bronchus, it divides into an ascending and a descending one. The ascending again divides into two tertiary bronchi, apico-posterior and anterior. But occasionally apical and posterior may be seen as two separate tertiary bronchi. And in such case, the ascending branch subdivides into three tertiary bronchi. So in this image what we are seeing, we can see three tertiary bronchi are formed here. Then descending branch subdivides into upper and lower lingular branches. Here this is the descending branch of the upper lobar branch. So from here, this red line what you are seeing, this represents the upper lobar branch. So upper lobar ascending and descending. So ascending has three tertiary or two tertiary tertiary segments can be seen, tertiary bronchi can be seen. Descending will again give rise to a superior lingular and an inferior lingular tertiary bronchus. Superior upper lingular and lower lingular, or superior lingular and inferior lingular bronchi to supply the lingula, which corresponds to the middle lobe of the right lung. Here in left lung we are saying only two lobes are there, but the lingula actually corresponds with the middle lobe, of the right lung. Then the lingular tertiary bronchi are upper and lower, whereas those of the middle lobe are on the right side. What we have seen on the middle lobe, medial and lateral we will see, whereas here upper and lower tertiary bronchi are seen here. And why we are not seeing the lateral and medial segments? Because the lingular bronchi, they won't get space to divide into medial and lateral because of the bulging heart on the left side. Now coming to the lower lobar bronchus, passes downwards laterally and backwards. Here we can see it is passing downwards laterally and backwards, and divides into four tertiary bronchi: superior, anterior medial basal, lateral basal, posterior basal. So what are we seeing? We are seeing the superior, then or apical, it is also called as apical, then anterior basal, lateral basal and posterior basal. Their course and distribution are the same as that of the right lung, but in the lower lobe of the left lung, the medial basal bronchus may be suppressed. So this we can say anteromedial basal we can say. So the medial basal bronchus is suppressed on the left side. This difference also you have to note down. So on the left lung also there are 10 bronchopulmonary segments. Now what are they one by one? This is the upper lobar bronchus and this is the lower lobar bronchus. The upper lobar bronchus again divides into an ascending and a descending bronchus. The ascending can give off either 2 or 3 tertiary bronchi. If 2 are given off, one is anterior, other one is apico-posterior. If 3 are given off, then apical and posterior are separately given off. Then the descending branch of the upper lobar bronchus will give off a superior lingular and an inferior lingular uh, bronchi. Then the lower lobe gives off superior or apical and then anterior basal, lateral basal and posterior basal. So again in the medial basal may be suppressed here, may be present, may be suppressed, but most of the times it is suppressed. So in the on the left side also we describe 10 bronchopulmonary segments. Now in this image if we observe, this is the upper lobe and this is the lower lobe. In upper lobe, first one is the apical and second one is the posterior, third one is the anterior, then fourth one is the upper lingular, fifth one is the lower lingular, and then sixth one is the superior or apical segment of the lower lobe, sixth one. Then seventh and eighth will be anterior and medial together. Anterior basal and medial basal together will number 7 and 8 here. And then the ninth one is the lateral basal and 10th one is the posterior basal segment. So these are the 10 bronchopulmonary segments seen in the left lung. The same thing in this we can see in this slide. Right side anterior view we can see first, second, third, fourth and fifth and part of sixth is seen here. On the left side also we can see 6 segments here, and then in the posterior view the rest of the things we are going to see. So this bronchopulmonary segments is a frequently asked question both for UGs and PGs. So in detail all the segments should be known and also their clinical importance. Now next we'll see the clinical importance of this bronchopulmonary segments. Now one thing, the knowledge of this bronchopulmonary segments is very important for the surgeons who do the uh, procedures like bronchoscopy, wherein endoscope is passed into the inserted into the trachea to visualize the trachea as well as the bronchi. So here in this animation we are seeing this is the trachea, right? In the trachea the tube has passed and here we can see this is the carina dividing into left and right bronchi. That small projection what you are seeing is the carina here, yeah, that one. And then here individual right bronchus and left bronchus, the normal bronchi how they appear, that is seen here in this video. Yeah, here you can see the smaller openings that you are seeing are all the secondary lobar branches of the right principal bronchus and left principal bronchus. The secondary branches we are seeing here. Okay, those openings represent the secondary layer. So bronchoscopy usually is done to detect any kind of pathology when the patient complains of any symptoms. When required, the bronchoscopy is performed, and this is how the image appears. These are all the normal looking trachea and the bronchi. These are all the normal things. Then here in this, if we see, this is an infected bronchus. You can see this yellow discoloration of the infected bronchus. This is how it appears when it is any pathology is there within the bronchus. That is how it appears. Then, so how does this knowledge of the bronchopulmonary segments is going to help you? So, anatomy of bronchopulmonary segments, it is essential for precise interpretation of radiographs. So when you observe a radiograph and if you want to localize where exactly the pathology is, then you can classify, categorize according to the segments. And any other medical images of the lungs also essential for surgical resection of diseased segments. So, interpretation of radiographs and other medical images of the lungs. So, knowledge of anatomy of bronchopulmonary segments will really help, and also essential for surgical resection of the diseased segments. Now, when you have localized that one particular segment, bronchopulmonary segment is affected, that can be resected without disturbing the other segments. So, that's how this knowledge helps us. Then any bronchial and pulmonary disorders such as tumors or abscess often localize in a bronchopulmonary segment, which may be surgically resected. Then during treatment of lung cancer, the surgeon, if many segments are affected and no chance of sparing or saving any part of the lung, then he decides to go for a removal of whole lung, which we call it as pneumonectomy, or only one lobe, like for suppose the middle lobe of the lung is affected, so then one particular lobe is resected, that is called as lobectomy. And when only one particular bronchopulmonary segment is affected and resection of that, it is called as segmentectomy. So these are types of lung resections. Then few more clinical aspects. The breath sounds over the right lung is more audible because the trachea comes in contact with the right lung. Because what is the reason? The right bronchus is very shorter, broader, and more vertical. So that's why the respiratory sounds are more audible on the right side. And since the right principal bronchus is shorter, wider, and more vertical than the left bronchus, a foreign body which is more likely to be aspirated into the right lung. And when the subcarinal angle exceeds 90 degrees, usually it is within below the 90 degrees. If it exceeds, then it is more likely that subcarinal nodes, lymph nodes are enlarged due to metastatic spread from the lung cancers or from other mediastinal cancers or mediastinal growths. Those lymphatics which drain into the subcarinal lymph nodes, that will cause the swelling or enlargement of those subcarinal nodes, and that will cause an increase in the subcarinal angle. So if you find on an x-ray that the subcarinal angle is increased, then you can suspect any of these conditions. In posterior segment of the right upper lobe is frequently the site of tuberculosis. This point you have to understand, you have to remember which segment of the right lung is affected with TB is tuberculosis is posterior segment of the right upper lobe. Right upper lobe, how many tertiary segments are there? Apical, anterior, and posterior, right? So the posterior segment is most affected with tuberculosis. An anterior segment of the upper lobe tends to be cancerous. So any cancerous lesions, if you suspect in the right lung, mostly it will be affecting the anterior segment of the upper lobe of right lung, right? So cancer is in the anterior segment, tuberculosis is in the posterior segment of upper lobe of right lung. Then where are the common sites of lung abscesses? So the apical segment of lower lobe, also called as superior segment, right? And the posterior segment of upper lobe are the frequent sites for lung abscess by aspiration, because these segments are most dependent in recumbent position. When you lie down, the apical segment as well as the posterior segment of the upper lobe, apical segment of lower lobe and posterior segment of upper lobe. These two are frequent sites for lung abscess by aspiration because they are most dependent. And in such condition, the patient is asked to lie in prone position, which allows the infected material to accumulate in the stem bronchi and in the carina, so that the purulent material is expectorated by stimulating the cough reflex. So regarding the cough reflex, I have talked to you in the lecture on trachea, right? Because the mucosa covering the carina, it is most sensitive and it can elicit the cough reflex if it comes in contact with any foreign body or any purulent material. It elicits a cough reflex, and that's how the patient can expectorate the secretions. Then what is middle lobe syndrome? I have already told you, any infection or cancerous condition of the lower lobe of the right lung has got a chance to infect the middle lobe also, because that is closer. And so the right middle lobe syndrome generally refers to chronic or recurrent atelectasis in the right middle lobe of the lung. It is caused by various etiologies and has no consistent clinical definition. Right middle lobe syndrome is characterized by a wedge-shaped density that extends anteriorly and inferiorly from the hilum of the lung. So this is the hilum of the lung. So from the hilum of the lung anteriorly and inferiorly, here you can see this wedge-shaped opacity on the X-ray. So that represents the middle lobe syndrome, and which is best visualized in the lateral chest radiography. This is the lateral chest radiography, and here we can see this is representing the middle lobe syndrome. Then Mendelssohn syndrome. It is characterized by a bronchopulmonary reaction following aspiration of gastric contents during general anesthesia, due to abolition of laryngeal reflexes. When you give general anesthesia, all the laryngeal reflexes are lost. So because of that, if the patient is not fasting before the surgery, then that there is a chance of aspiration during the surgery or a few hours after surgery. So the main clinical features are signs of general hypoxia, and 2 to 5 hours after anesthesia these signs will be seen. And such hypoxic features may include cyanosis, dyspnea, fever, pulmonary wheeze, crepitant rales, rhonchi, and tachycardia. So you need not remember all these things, but you should have an idea that if the patient is not fasting before surgery and he is given general anesthesia, there are chances of aspiration because of abolition of laryngeal reflexes with general anesthesia. And decreased arterial oxygen tension is also likely to be evident, and uh, if it can be, if the treatment is not given in time, the pulmonary edema can cause sudden death, or death may occur later from pulmonary complications. So this is called as Mendelssohn's syndrome. Aspiration after the general anesthesia, usually seen in obstetric cases. Now what is segmental atelectasis? So segmental atelectasis is sometimes one bronchopulmonary segment is affected, and it is blocked with aspiration. So because of accidental aspiration, one tertiary bronchus is blocked. So now that is divided of air. I mean, the inspired air is not entering into that particular segment. So then what happens is, whatever air which is already present in that bronchopulmonary segment, it will be absorbed into the blood vessels, and that bronchopulmonary segment will collapse. So that is called as segmental atelectasis. when one particular bronchopulmonary segment is collapsed because of obstruction, it is called as segmental atelectasis. There can be other reasons also for the collapse of the bronchopulmonary segments, but the usual one is the accidental aspiration. But there is the gap which is created because of the collapse of one bronchopulmonary segment is actually covered by inflation of the side by bronchopulmonary segments. Whatever segments will be there on either side of this, they actually um, compensate for the loss of air in that bronchopulmonary segment. So usually we won't see more difference because of collapse of one particular bronchopulmonary segment. So that is called as segmental atelectasis. Right. Thank you all.